Hello, and welcome to Performance Architects Evaluate and Implement a World-Class Higher Education Budgeting, Forecasting, and Planning Solution, Case Studies and Lessons Learned webinar. My name is Kirby Lunger, and I head up Sales, Marketing, and Alliances for the company, and I'm also your presenter today. Before we get started, I did want to walk through some administrivia that I know is of interest to everybody every single time we do one of these webinars. First of all, there are unfortunately too many of you to take live questions verbally during the webinar, but we can take your questions in written format. So please submit your questions in the questions box on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. Your name and questions won't be accessible to other webinar participants, so please don't worry about it. If you have something you think is silly to ask, nothing silly, and we will try and get back to you during the course of the webinar. Also, we always know that people want to see the recording to share with their colleagues or have the slides as a memory jogger. We definitely will make those available after the presentation to you. It usually takes 2 or 3 business days to edit the content, the recorded content, to make sure it's usable. So please be patient, and we will make sure we notify you when it's available. We put it up on something called the Performance Architects Learning Center, which is a repository of all of our content from webinars and events and all our written content from our website. So it's a real easy, wonderful place to go to access that information. And finally, as I always say to keep our attorneys happy, these slides represent the work and opinions of the presenter, and we make no representations or warranties with respect to the ideas or techniques contained in the document. Also, I just wanted to give you a brief overview on Performance Architects so you understand why you should be listening to us about this topic. We've been around since 2006. And we're in the management consulting and systems integration space, really focused on what we call business analytics, which we define as the intersection of enterprise or financial performance management solutions, what we're going to be talking about today, business intelligence, and data discovery within certain vertical markets. One of our largest vertical markets is the higher education space, and we're 100% referenceable. We have hundreds of clients and have built hundreds, if not thousands at this point, of applications with a 95% repeat business rate across higher education and other verticals. We're headquartered in Boston, Massachusetts, with reach across the US and also in India as well. And we're privately and closely held, which gives us a lot of flexibility to act according to vagaries in the market. Our team is very representative of me as well, a mix of functional and technical background and also industry-specific expertise. I've been in this industry about 20 years now in the EPM BI industry, both on the software and services side, and have worked on dozens of implementations in higher education and other segments as well. And we will be referring to certain technologies. Oracle is one of them. So just quickly, our Oracle qualifications for a Platinum and Cloud Partner, which means we're in the top 5% of partners worldwide. There are about 35,000 of them across all the Oracle partner areas, so that's important. We're a several-time Excellence Award winner, and we've been working with all these products, both from a preview or beta perspective, as well as hands-on implementation perspective since they were launched. 100% of our staff is trained and certified in these. So without further ado, I promised in the abstract to this webinar to provide kind of what the standard path to planning excellence looks like for higher education, what the top 5 elements are for a successful planning initiative in the higher education space, with a little bit of color around that with some of the case studies of clients we've worked with in the past in this area, why planning software is important for success when you're looking to do a forecasting, budgeting, or planning initiative, and frankly, how and when a consulting partner can and should help. And then at the end, I'll answer some of your questions. So first of all, just to set the stage, enterprise performance management, what the heck is that? You probably hear a lot of people refer to EPM, and a lot of times people get really confused about what that actually means. So really, it's tying your strategy to your operations. I'll talk more about that in a moment, but it's really the way you measure and collaborate across your business to achieve your strategy. And it's sort of the definition of that framework, the processes to manage it, and really how you collect and analyze data and turn it into information using technology to support that process and that framework. So that's really what we're going to be talking about today. And you guys may have seen this chart if you've talked to me before. I love using it because it's really important to understand kind of how the market's evolved and why we are where we are with these technologies today. And this is in higher ed and across all these different markets. But really, this financial or EPM software market space started back in the 70s. Folks, and on the methodology side as well, really folks were looking at historical financial information. Frankly, that's all they were able to take out of the systems and processes they had at the time. So forward-looking information was not really even possible using the technology and the process that were in place at a lot of these companies, at least no more than a finger in the wind. As things got a little bit more automated in the 80s, traditional accounting and valuation methods were a little bit out of step with what folks were able to do using systematic methodology and also technology. So those of us who lived through, had experience with things like activity-based costing and management, SVA or shareholder value analysis, free cash flow, economic profit, all these models for trying to predict performance and look at companies or organizations versus their peers. And in the 90s, we started looking at non-financial measures, things that were drivers of outcomes. That was partially because the systems were then starting to be able to collect that less structured or semi-structured information. And so tying that together through things like the balanced scorecard or the performance prism, also things like process methodologies that looked at drivers of outcomes, black belt certification, Six Sigma, those kinds of things became very, very popular. And now in the 2000s and beyond, over 50% of companies use some kind of formal methodology to tie those key performance indicators to those drivers and to really look at the whole process. And quite frankly, and this may insult some of you on the phone, but I'm going to be very direct about it, higher ed is lagging in this space. And that has to do to some extent with the investment in solutions that, higher ed institutions have made. I think it also has to do with the fact that these institutions haven't been forced to compete in the same way as some of the for-profit organizations have.